So I'm on the BJJ Fanatics website, and I see 3 new videos by some guy named Thomas Radzinski. You familiar with that guy at all?
Nope, absolutely not.
No? Well, he's got some good stuff. Three brand new videos. They're getting amazing reviews, which is good to see as well. But you got to tell us about them real quick?
Yeah, I had, you guys already know, but I had opportunity to go to Boston, shoot 3 more instructionals, 1 on butterfly hook, complete guide for butterfly hook, 2 wrap, lapel, and submit them, and 3 we have taking the back. It's particularly designed for guys for over 40 because there's no climbing involved. All the back takes are on the ground. Very, very full and effective system. So dip into it. I'm really hoping that this is going to help your jiu-jitsu and really take it to the next level.
BJJfanatics.com. Just search ROZDZ. We have all had that situation where after class is when we want to ask a question. And Thomas, a lot of those questions you've already answered, right, at Ask a Black Belt.
Yeah, it's another podcast that I'm running. It's on podcast, all podcast platforms, plus on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. Just search for my name. Search for Ask a Black Belt. At this point, over 100 episodes, different questions, jiu-jitsu, life-related, but something that everybody comes across, and often these questions sink in our mind, but we don't ask for whatever reason. So if that benefits you, go there, listen. It actually might help your jiu-jitsu, might help your life as well. And if you have any questions, find me on Instagram and drop me a line. I'll be happy to answer your question and mention your name during the episode.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we're live.
Here we go.
Great conversation with another Gracie family.
Yes.
The interesting part here, I think, in my mind, was the fact that, we had an opportunity to talk to first generation, like, Rayron Gracie, Valente brothers, like the guys who are up there in their age, and a bunch of coral belts, that's kind of Gen 1 of like the U.S. presence, if you will. Mm-hmm. Then we have like Gen 2, where, like Henner and some of these guys in their 40s that kind of come in at this point of time, right, who made impact. And then there's this newer generation. It's like the third generation of your role. These guys are in their 20s now, right? And so is Rayron. And it's, interesting part about him is that now we have like these comparison points between different generations and their mindsets and how they view jiu-jitsu, or, the differences between them, or maybe not. Like maybe the mindset is very similar to what it used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think what's funny is, and maybe it's because jiu-jitsu has grown so much, but Rayron didn't seem to be, he wasn't selling jiu-jitsu in any way, where I think everybody else that we've talked to kind of was. Maybe not Hulse, but, where they need to still push what jiu-jitsu is. Like he probably is like, it is what it is. You know what it is. We wouldn't be here.
Rayron?
Yeah. Where he didn't have to, there was no salesmanship involved in our conversation with him at all. It was much, much different. There was no agenda, maybe, where I think some of the other family members that we've talked to are still trying to grow it, to
do you think
to bring it to America, to give it to everybody, where he's like, it's already here. It is what it is. And he was just here to talk about.
Do you think that comes from the point of where they find themselves in their lives? Meaning Rayron is a young gentleman who doesn't have an academy, doesn't have an intentions of teaching. He's focused on his life, his competition. And he says this during the episode multiple times, where he is fortunate, where he doesn't have to be concerned about financial support.
Yeah.
And he can focus on training and competing, versus a lot of the other individuals and guests that we've had an opportunity to chat with. This is their livelihood. That's how they support themselves. As a result of that, they want that to be successful, so they are pushing it in that way.
Maybe that could have something to do with it for sure. But it's different. It was definitely different, and it wasn't.
What was so impactful for you?
For me, really how the gratitude that he had to the people that came before him, and the appreciation he had for the work that they've done to afford him the life that he has now, and not necessarily financial, but the
being in the opportunities,
giving him the opportunities to go ahead and train full time, compete full time, jiu-jitsu full time.
Yeah.
Because of what they did before he came along. And, he did talk about it being maybe sometimes a little bit of a blessing and a curse. The expectations, the pressure put on him, and if you go to like his website, there's a very short video where it's like, when I compete, if I don't submit everyone, if I'm not dominant, I'm paraphrasing, but I don't submit everybody, if I'm not dominant, well, then I'm less than, right?
I think he even talked about that during our conversation. I recall some of that.
Right. So if his matches are tough, if he loses, even worse, he's not living up to the Gracie name. Outsiders look at him as, if he wins, well, it's because he's supposed to. He's a Gracie and he was afforded everything. And if he loses, it's, well, then he's less than. He's not living up to the standards of the family, stuff like that. And I don't know where I'm going with this exactly.
I don't know either.
But I think that through it all, he's pretty clear-headed about it, and he understands that he does need to work. He does have things to prove. But he doesn't look at any of it. He doesn't take any of it for granted. And that was great to see.
Do you think that the Gracie family, yeah, I know. Do you think that Gracie family continues impacting jiu-jitsu today as much it has 20, 30, 50, 70 years ago?
I mean, there's different ways to look at that, right? Are they as impactful as they're like the dominant name in competition or fighting even? If you look at them in MMA,
I'm not talking about branding. I'm talking about the individuals themselves, the actual members of Gracie family, who might be a third or fourth generation from Helio Gracie or Carlos Gracie or Carlson, whatever.
If you're taking like branding out of it, then no, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting part, right? And then he did talk about the fact that because he carries the name, there is extra pressure on him to deliver in a specific way. I do recall that he said even winning is not enough. He needs to win in a dominant way because of that. Otherwise, it's, he almost is not justifiable, right? Almost he didn't earn it in a sense, right? So I guess a question in my mind that's surfacing now, since Gracie family, the actual individuals are not playing such a significant role anymore because it has grown. This is nothing, don't take me wrong here. It's not that Gracie family doesn't exist in jiu-jitsu. It's the fact that it has grown, at least in this country, so much that there is many other individuals who are contributing as a result of it. The percentage has gone down, right? So the impact is less, so even though that impact is not as great, the pressure is still there.
Yeah, for sure. Because the name is still there. I think if if Jordan's kids, well, I think it's too late, but A Chicago example, Walter Payton's son played for professional football, and he didn't have a very successful career in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he felt all that pressure to perform. My dad was the greatest running back ever in the history of the NFL.
But look,
and I'm in the NFL, and if I don't make it, what does it say? I think because you start internalizing, and what does it say about me? My dad could do it. I was afforded more.
But you're talking about one generation.
Sure.
With Peyton, right?
Yeah.
With the Gracies, we're talking about 2, 3, 4 generations.
Yeah, but
right?
I think it's very similar.
So at which point that pressure tips off? At which point it doesn't matter? Is that going to carry on forever? Because that doesn't seem to be fair.
Well, look, the pool gets bigger, the fish gets smaller by comparison.
Yeah.
Look, man, there's kids in this building who have been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time now, within, relatively speaking, in their lifetime. And, they don't know who any of these people are. We remind them, we tell them, but it's not ever present, right, in their face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that these things will probably have a tendency to fade away.
But do you think the pressure will fade away?
For like a family member?
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to figure out here, this is...
I think it'll morph because like it'll become, I have to perform now to carry on the name. I have to perform to remind everybody of who we are and what we did.
Because it's disappearing. Because it's fading away.
Yeah.
So the question now is that pressure put on the Gracies put by the Gracies, or is it put by the community of jiu-jitsu?
I think it's how they receive it. Like, people are shitty, and people will be.
Well, that's
right?
true too.
I mean,
that's true too.
I
agree.
You got it. People will look at them and say they don't matter anymore. That's kind of where I was going with my last statement. They don't matter anymore. They're not important. Their jiu-jitsu is old. They're whatever. And whoever is competing or teaching will have to prove themselves in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's no question that Gracie family, and as large as it is, not only the Gracie name, but anybody who was involved in that family has put jiu-jitsu on the world map, including this country. Like, I think that's undeniable.
Yeah, this conversation
fact.
that we're having takes nothing away from them, and I hope nobody hears it that way.
Yeah, I hope so too. But it is interesting that as the jiu-jitsu grows, we are experiencing this saturation of knowledge, essentially, because that's what it is. Now, it's not only because of the Gracie name or Gracie members of Gracie family, but also because of other individuals who are competing, or not competing, contributing to what jiu-jitsu is today. Now we have more instructors, more competitors, more practitioners, more hobbyists, and it just continues growing. We went from the pond to the sea. Now we are in the ocean, right? And it continues growing. And it is interesting. I hope, this is my genuine hope, that the historical factor of jiu-jitsu does not disappear. I hope that we continue embracing this as we continue training. But I do see some of the fading away. I do see competition taking over such a strong factor behind jiu-jitsu itself, that the self-defense fact, the self-defense part kind of fades away slowly. And with it, the history that is attached to it, unfortunately, I think. And this is, thanks to guys like Drysdale and handful others, who continue embracing that side of it and really exposing it to everybody else. I'm hoping that our kids or generation after that really will know where where jiu-jitsu started, how it started, and how it continued evolving over the time, you know? Because I'll be honest with you, I watch hockey, but I have no freaking idea how hockey started. I don't. I'll admit that first. Same thing with all the other sports.
Yeah, and it's
Like-
funny is, you know, we always talk about jiu-jitsu being so young, but it just hit me that it's really, I don't think it's that young. I think it was just so isolated,
Yeah.
right? Because basketball's really not that old. The NFL's really not that old.
Well, I think it's
You know,
Isn't
it is.
older?
They're a little older, not much. You know,
See, I don't even know.
You know, but because they became so immensely popular, the history is still a little more visible, or not, and a little more cherished. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
so.
I agree. I don't know. I was trying to look up, but I'm getting distracted. I can't be part of the conversation. I can't do two things at the same time. So it's
But you know, so you know, we were going to talk about gratitude, and I think it kind of shifted a little bit more about like the history and the pressure put
But let's
upon
bring
these
it
people
back.
to
I think it's
carry it
important.
out.
I think it's important for all of us to really show gratitude, similar to what Rayron was talking about, showing the gratitude towards the family, showing the gratitude towards what was established before us. You know, take the head off to those who came and went before us, before we were here. You know, with the hope that we carry the torch, carry the flame.
The torch, yeah.
The torch. I was right. Yeah, I didn't want to
Right.
butcher. I want to give you fuel so you
No.
make fun of me already.
Don't worry, I got plenty.
But carry the torch and for the next generation to carry it on as time goes on, you know?
Yeah, I think that's passing it, right? Passing the
Yeah.
torch is important. And
Yep.
it's, you know, we've talked about legacy recently, but I think that a big part of it is to always look back and be grateful for the people that set the path for you.
Yeah.
And realize that nobody did it. Nobody's done this alone. You didn't do anything by yourself.
Yep.
And to be grateful, because then I think it's easy. It makes it much easier to turn around and see the people that are coming up behind you that are, you know, either on the same path or just younger, whatever. It's easier to turn around and be more giving, and more, understanding and helpful to them. Right. Because if you don't think about, if everybody who came before you, doesn't matter and you're not grateful, you're probably going to turn around and treat the people coming up behind you negatively too.
Yeah.
So
I-
that's
I-
wonderful.
I
And
agree
I
to that.
think that, you know, he's a super young guy, early 20s. I bet by the time he's in his early 30s, he will have started bringing up the people behind him the same way his family has done for him.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
You know,
I
and
agree.
and if you look at his recent accomplishments, you know, who was there with him?
Rayron
You know,
Gracie and
right? Yeah. You know, it was the guys that, you know, the generation above, you know, little younger than
Hodger.
but yeah, Hodger. And if you go back to like talking about the history of it and things disappearing, you know, and the way things are going right now, Hodger's name will always come up, but he's going to be, I think, that in that other thing that they used to do that they don't do as much anymore. So yeah, it's always changing. It's evolving. But just be thankful for the people that put you in the spot you're at now.
that we should. Let's wrap it up.
All right. See you.
Later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.